Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Turtles, count it on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Turtles. Mutant chain reaction.
What is up, lads and ladies? FedoraBoy here with the return of the Turtles. Oh yes, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are back and brought to you by Super7. And I mean that as in they're the ones who made the figures. They don't sponsor. And it is my pleasure to talk to you guys about them. Them, of course, being the Super7, not sponsored, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from the 2003 series. My favorite Turtle series, mostly because it's what I grew up on. Anyways, let's get into it.
1, 2, 3, 4. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Now, what is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Well, I already covered that in my last Turtles review, so go check that out first and then come back for this one. But to give a TLDR, they're turtles, they get mutated, learn ninjutsu, and have a fight with some feet and a kitchen appliance or something. And sometimes there's aliens too, but that's a story for another time. Regardless of all that, the turtles themselves have been through a lot over their 40 years of existing in the media. Yeah, these turtles are not teens, they're basically middle-aged now. And during these 40 years, we were graced with maybe the best Turtle series to ever release. That, of course, being the TMNT series released in 2003, and you can fight me in the comments if you disagree. Now, even though it's obviously the best series, does it have the best design for the Turtles? Well, that's where the review comes in, so let's take a closer look.
1, 2, 3, 4. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
So originally, I was going to talk about each turtle separately in their own little segment. And while writing this script, I realized they're too similar in design to do that. I mean, look, they all have the same body mold and head shape, with the only difference being their bandanas, obviously, and their skin color, which is something that these turtles did first, at least in the mainstream. I don't know if other offshoots or other niche variants of the turtles did this before them, so if there is one, leave a comment telling me I'm wrong. But to do a quick run through of the different skin colors, Leo has a nice neutral green, Donnie is giving more yellow-green, Mikey is a bit of a blue-green, and Raph is a dark green. Now all the greens chosen I think match really well with the show colors, even if it was hard to tell sometimes since the show itself was always so dark, both in a lighting sense and in a story sense. Seriously, that show got dark. The turtles died in that one episode. If you've seen the show, you know the one. Anyways, continuing with other differences, Leo of course has his over-the-shoulder strap from his belt, naturally used to hold his sword sheaths. We know this and it makes him very special indeed. Another thing that makes him special, but in a bad way, is this. Now just look at this belt. Why the shell is it going at these weird angles? What the shell is the deal here? Moving away from Leo for a bit before I have a mental breakdown. Another problem is that Raph and Mikey have this massive gap in the front of their belts. I want to commit uninstall. Donnie is the only one where I have no faults with his belt. There isn't a big gap and there isn't ungodly angles like Leo's. There is a very clear favorite child here. With Raph and Mikey, I can kinda understand having the gaps because you gotta store the weapon somewhere, and in the show, they were on the front and not on the back. More on that later. But this gap is actually comically large and almost feels unusable at times. Now Leo doesn't have that noticeable of a gap if you look at him at a glance, but I guarantee you will notice these weird curves in his belt. It looks bad. Really, really bad. Now this could just be an issue on mine, but just be wary of potential belt issues. And you know, maybe I'm being too harsh on these figures and yes I am, but that's only because A, the 2003 series is my favorite series of Ninja Turtles, and B, this is the first time we've ever had good, high quality, fully posable, and cartoon accurate versions of those turtles. So I expect a lot from these, and while Super7 delivered in the cartoon accurate side of things, the quality is a bit of a miss. Though somehow, it gets a little worse when you bring in the posability aspect. Oh boy.
1, 2, 3, 4. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Now the posability is nothing to scoff at. It's all about what you'd expect and want from your standard high quality figure. It's more so the quality of the joints themselves. Using Donnie for the majority of this segment as he's the best turtle, don't fight me, you are wrong. You have a ball joint at the head and base of the neck. For some reason Donnie's neck is noticeably shorter than his brother's. What's the deal with that, guys? His stubby neck lets him look up that far and down that far. Because of this short neck, it gives him the least up, but about the same down. Mikey here has the most down for some reason. Bandana swivel, shoulders are on a swivel and not a ball joint. Depending on which way you have the shoulder rotated, the arm can move forward or out on this soft ratchet type joint. The shell gets in the way of the arm from doing a full 360. Bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, and this is where we hit our first instance of quality control, leaving the sewers because the elbow bend may vary. Donnie's right elbow is basically about where you want it. It's not too tight or too loose. Donnie's left elbow on the other arm has a bit of both. The top joint is too loose and the bottom joint is too tight. If you feel like you're applying way more pressure than you need, the joint is probably too tight. Now to do a bit of a speed run, Raph's right elbow is pretty good. Left elbow is good, but the bottom is just a smidge too tight. Both of Mikey's elbows are pretty good, and Leo, oh boy, both his top elbow joints are just a bit too tight. They really don't like you, huh? Continuing onward, there's a top elbow swivel and a bottom elbow swivel, wrist swivel, and another piece of wrist posability that I won't talk about just yet. Very limited waist ball joint, can get a slight crunch out of it, but it's not that noticeable as one. Hips on a similar system as the shoulders can move forward that far, back not that far due to the shell, and out that far. Thigh swivel, double jointed knees, and yeah, it's that time again. Donnie's knees are pretty good all around. Both of Raph's top knee joints are a bit too tight. Mikey's left top knee is a bit too tight. And Leo's knees are pretty good actually. Upper and lower knee swivel, great ankle pivot, and can move up and down, in theory. One more time, Donnie's left foot is a bit too tight, Raph's are pretty good, Mikey's right foot is a bit too tight, and Leo's left foot is way too tight, to the point it feels like if I try to force it any more than I already am, I will break it. Awesome. Posability is pretty good though, regardless of tight and loose joints. Sure, it takes a bit to get in some poses due to the nature of tight joints, and also being able to stay in poses for long periods due to loose joints, but it doesn't necessarily feel like I'm too limited by joint tolerances. They're more so just annoying. So they pose pretty well on their own, but if we add some accessories to the mix, now we can really
go ninja, go ninja, go!
1, 2, 3, 4, Teenage Mutant Turtles!
Naturally, we have the classic turtle weapons. Leo's sword, Raph's sai, Donnie's bow staff, and Mikey's nunchucks. And these weapons are the few times that they're actually color-coded to each turtle. I believe Rise of the TMNT also did this, and I don't know if there was ever another time. Now all the weapons look great. The colors match the bandana colors almost perfectly. However, I have a few issues, specifically with Raph's sai. Now looking at his sai, my immediate thought was that they're way too short because I, being a major fan of the 2003 series as I keep saying, knew that Raph's sai in that show were depicted as having a much longer main tip and less space between the two shorter tips. The length should feel more in line with the Last Ronin flashback Raph's sai. At the end of the day though, it's not that big a deal. I just wish it looked more like the show. At the very least, they have the yellow bits at the ends for Leo, Raph, and Mikey. Not even in some of the official artwork does it have that, so it's much appreciated that these do. Anyways, what good are these weapons if the turtles can't hold them? So, as well as the default fists, you get the open hands, grabby hands, and that's it. Not that you really need it anymore, but I don't know, just doesn't feel like enough for some reason. Regardless, all of the turtles can hold their weapons very well. The grip is quite strong. Never mind, Mikey had to go and ruin it. His left grabby hand is actually too loose, like it doesn't hold his nunchucks at all. I can probably fix this easy, but it's the very idea that I even have to in the first place. Oh well. I guess I'll just store the weapons in his comically large belt gaps. And yes, you can store all the weapons on the given turtle in some way, shape, or form. Of course, Leo and Donnie are easy as they have designated slots for their weapons, but Raph and Mikey do not. Basically, just play around with the belt until you get the weapon in a way that looks good to you. Note that depending on how you decide to store the weapons on their belts, that it could get in the way of their leg movements. Raph's sai are especially worrying as you wouldn't want to bend them. Continuing on the hands, I mentioned earlier that there was an added bit of wrist posability that I would mention later. Well, now is later. And if you look here at the fists and open hands, you'll see that they have this up and down hinge joint, just like how the Last Ronin turtles had. Well, if you look at the grabby hands, you'll see that these have this side-to-side movement instead. It does seem a little weird to do that, but I guess they wanted it where you could get that slanted wrist look when holding the weapons, which is nice and adds a bit more of dynamicness to poses, but it's just a bit weird when first getting them. Or it's just me, I don't know. Moving on from hands, we have the shell cell, a pretty major accessory from the show, basically being there since the very first episode, and it is pretty iconic for the series, so I can understand its inclusion. Kinda wish we got a closed version as well, but you know, oh well I guess. There's also no real way of having the turtles use them as a cell phone since the grabby hand can only do so much, and the open hand won't hold them at all. Missed opportunities. We also get these alternate heads, each giving off a different expression. Leo's default is a more neutral smile, and his alternate is a teeth-grinning side smile. Donnie's default is a neutral grin, not exactly a smile, but not really a dead stare either. And his alternate is this more serious, less teeth grin on both sides of his mouth. Mikey's default is this open smile, and his alternate is this closed mouth smile. Raph's default is this very angry teeth grinning look, and his alternate is this open mouth angry yell. Very angry all around for this guy. Each alternate head also has its own bandana that you can mix and match with the default bandana. And finally, a few character-specific accessories. We get Donnie's goggles, which were a recurring item he would wear, but he usually wore them whenever he was using his blowtorch, which I wish was also added. That and his duffel bag, I think would have been a better accessory to include if you're only going to use one accessory. I feel like he used that more than his goggles and definitely used it more in the field. Again, oh well. Mikey also gets a unique accessory, being these spinning effects for his nunchucks. Now this is something all Mikey figures should have, though I wish there was a swivel or like a ball joint type joint, so it wouldn't be stuck in this 90-degree angle. I mean, poses work, you just have to finagle the look, otherwise it might look a little weird. And lastly, Leo and Raph have nothing. No additional accessories, which maybe I can understand that. I mean really, what else would they come with? No, seriously. What? And you probably notice a lack of pizza, and yeah, there's no pizza to be had here, and I don't really mind that. Believe it or not, these turtles really didn't eat pizza all that much other than a handful of times, if even that. Overall, these turtles are a big hit for me. They do have some pretty blaring issues, most being joint tolerances, and you know, there's also that belt issue, so that definitely drags these figures down a bit, but I can't deny how much fun these are to pose. Now I have heard that Super7 do have history of joint tolerance issues, and after messing with these figures, yeah, I'd have to agree. Regardless, these are possibly the best versions of the 2003 Turtles to be released as of right now. And if some other company decides to make their own 2003 Turtles, I might have to eat my words. But until then, I'm happy with these, and I can safely say that my collection of turtles is basically complete with these. In case you couldn't tell, I have the Revoltech 2012 Turtles, the NECA Black and White Comic Turtles, the SH Figuarts 1987 Turtles, the Playmates Mutant Mayhem Movie Turtles, the NECA Last Ronin Turtles, and finally, the Super7 2003 Turtles. I'm thinking no more turtles for me, but I don't know, those NECA 2012 turtles are looking a little... Anyways, thank you for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more figure reviews. And go check out my animations, speed drawings, and gaming videos as well if you're into that nerd type stuff. Anyways, I tip my fedora to you, and bid you adieu.